People who are worried about diverticulosis have long been told to stay away from eating nuts and seeds, but it seems that might not be necessary. Dr. Christopher Labos joins us. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Mitz.
So first off, what is diverticulosis and how common is it?
It's actually quite common. It affects a very large number of people. What it basically is if you can imagine that your intestine is sort of like a tube, it would be an outpouching of that tube. So you'd have these little pockets coming out of the tube where various, food particles could get stuck. And it's something that tends to happen more and more as we get older, where sort of the lining of your intestine develops a weakness to it, which allows these outpouchings to happen.
I've known some people who've had this. I mean, it can be extremely painful. So how is it treated?
So it's usually treated with antibiotics because what's happening is that when the outpouchings get infected, so there's a food particle or something that gets in there, it gets infected, it gets inflamed, that inflammation can be very, very painful. And so what's usually required is a course of antibiotics, which usually makes the infection go away. In some rare cases, people have needed to have surgery. That's when like an abscess will develop, or if it gets very severe. But for most people, a course of antibiotics will usually make it go away. So it tends not to be dangerous, but you're right, it can be extremely painful.
And I have heard people say that they're not allowed to eat nuts and seeds because of this. What is this theory then?
So the theory sort of comes from the idea, which makes an intuitive amount of sense, that if you were eating small particles of food, nuts, seeds, corns, that stuff is more likely to get stuck in these pouches and be a source of potential inflammation and infection. Except that it was never actually really based on science. It was just sort of based on, something between folksy wisdom and common sense. And it was never actually really tested. And the more recent evidence that has come out, and in fact, the more recent trial which has come out, has suggested that it doesn't actually seem to make a difference, because when they've analyzed the data of the diet that people have, the people who eat seeds, corns, nuts, they don't seem to end up having more diverticulitis. So it probably doesn't make that much of a difference.
So then what does cause it?
A lot of it is genetics. Men tend to have it more than women, sort of. The biggest risk factors, though, are lifestyle factors. Obesity tends to make the biggest difference. Smoking is a big risk factor. So if you needed yet another reason to quit smoking, this is it. Another part of the sort of the folksy wisdom around this was that constipation caused diverticulosis because of the straining that caused the walls of the bowel to sort of balloon out. That also is probably not true. So this idea of having a high fiber diet to sort of ease the pressure on the bowel, probably also not really a true statement. Having a healthy diet overall matters, but the whole fiber thing also probably not true.
So you mentioned lifestyle. Is that the best way to prevent it then?
It really is. Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's really a healthy diet. Don't smoke. Try to maintain a healthy body weight and stay physically active. It's lifestyle that makes the biggest difference. There's a genetic component. There does seem to be sort of a familial connection there, but otherwise, there's not really that much you can do. And it's important to point out that while diverticulosis is very common, the outpouchings of your intestine is very common, only a tiny minority of people that have diverticulosis go on to get diverticulitis, the really painful thing. So most people have it, don't realize it, and if they never had a colonoscopy, would never actually know that it was there. So it's probably not something we need to worry about as much as we, currently do.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chris.
My pleasure. Take care.